A big trade today and a big win for the Minnesota Wild as they beat the Nashville Predators by a score of 3-2 in overtime. And the Wild are now tied with Winnipeg for the most points in the NHL. Let's talk about the particulars as the Wild get another exciting OT win. Postcast time is now.
You are Locked On Wild Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Minnesota Wild pick up a 3-2 win in overtime over the Nashville Predators and now are tied for first place with the Winnipeg Jets at the top of the Central Division. Thanks everybody for tuning in to tonight's Locked On Wild Postcast after another close game, but another win for the Minnesota Wild that saw another big play for Kirill Kaprizov lead to the game-winning goal for Jared Spurgeon. Spurgeon's third goal in the last two games, and it leads to the 16th win of the season. The Wild are now 16-4-4, or as we all like to say, 16-8. And I mean, that Nashville team, don't let their record fool you. They play really good defense. They can't score. They can't score at all. But they can play defense, and they've got UC Saros as goalie. So it was another great win for the Minnesota Wild here tonight. Let's get to the comments. Amanda will start us off. That Nashville team is something else. That was a game that could have gone either way. And yet again, Gus is standing on his head. The D is getting good clears. The offense is figuring out, hey, we had a power play goal tonight for the first time. And I don't even want to try to count the stretch that the Wild were on for ineptitude from the power play, but they get a power play goal. The penalty kill actually got a couple of saves. I don't know what it is, folks, but that Wild penalty kill unit is just incapable of getting kills. They're incapable of putting like perfect nights together. The Nashville gets a power play goal. At the end of the day, the Wild get the win. They do what they need to do. Same old story. Tough defense. It's pretty tight out there. There weren't a lot of great opportunities for shots for either team. But when you have good goaltending, it can hide a lot of... It can take over for the offense when the opportunities just aren't as prevalent as they are or have been in previous seasons. Gus was .36 goals saved above expected. Had the 25 saves on 27 shots. Had some big saves down the stretch, and just continued to go the Gus route. He's been sensational this season. We just can't stop winning. Let's go, boys. Yeah, Jay and Shark Boy Ben, everybody having a great time. Ron says this is so much fun watching these guys. Hope it never ends. They just do what they need to do. And I know we would like to see more separator games and more games where the Wild just take care of business and are able to win comfortably. But as the schedule gets more and more difficult, and as we get further and further into the season, you go into survival mode. And if you're able to still pick up wins, I don't give two rips about style points. The wins are what matter. And they continue to get the wins. 16-8 now on the season. Tied with Winnipeg for the most points in the league. Let's look at where we're at in some of the other categories. Plus 19 in goals. They've now allowed the fewest goals in the entire Western Conference. Fewest goals in the entirety of the Western Conference. And they are one of 7. They're one of 7 teams in the Western Conference to score 70-plus goals. Plus 19 goal differential, second best in the West. starting to more consistently defend home ice, 6-3-1. There's a lot to like about what this Minnesota Wild team continues to do. As Amanda says, dare I say, the Wild are really good this year. As Dan mentions, team is so fun already. And don't worry, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about David Jiricek plenty. And I get it. Like, I get it. It was a big price to pay for a player like that, for a prospect like Jiricek with some clear red flags in the skating department. But I'm going to go straight to Locked On Prospects later this week to get the full lowdown on what Jiricek brings to the table. The Wild are fortunate to have a skating coach in Andy Ness that can hopefully point Jiricek in the right direction. But there are a lot of questions that need to be answered on the Jiricek front. You know, reports of him not being happy with kind of where he was at. It reminds me of the Yaroslav Askarov situation. And we will learn very quickly if this is a player in Jiricek that is coachable and in a more stable organization, if he can turn into a player that can provide exactly what the Minnesota Wild are going to need down the road, which is a big body with a good shot. It's a risk. It's a gamble. It is an investment, as Bill Guerin put it. And it's a lot to give up. A first-round pick, 4 picks in all. But if it works out, Jiricek has a much higher ceiling than Damon Hunt does. And if it works out and if he gets acclimated and starts to get used to life at the NHL level and becomes a productive portion of this D-core, all of a sudden you've got Zeev Boyum, Brock Faber, and David Jiricek. And that's a D group you can build around going forward. That is pretty damn good. You've got 3 guys that have top 4 potential in that group. You've also got Spurgeon. You've got Brodin. Like, the Wild are considering this an investment for their D-core. If it works, it was a savvy move by Bill Guerin to go get him. If it doesn't, then that's a hefty price to give up for a guy that has some clear red flags. But we'll talk about it more with Alex on Monday's episode. We will talk about it with the Locked On Prospects guys. I'm going to try to get them on as quick as we can to get a little bit more intel on Jiricek. That's just how we do it. Big trade is a stretch. And I think that's part of the other. I think that's the other part of this too, is that we all expected that first round pick to be used for something to help this season. That's not going to preclude the Wild from making additional moves. It's just that now you have taken away the draft picks, and so the only way for you to really make another move is to dip into the prospect pool. Getting Jiricek did not cost anything in terms of top prospects, which I'm very in favor of. And something that I said last week for the everydayers is at some point, the picks and the prospects, there's plenty of them. And you got to start doing stuff to further what you're doing right now. So we'll see how it works out. I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt for Jiricek until he gets settled in. It was a Columbus team that's in the midst of a pretty thorough rebuild, and winning can ease a lot of attitudes. I don't think we're quite at Kalen Addison territory yet with this move. So let's just get him in here, get him acclimated to the system, and see what happens. Dougie joining us tonight. Well, so far this season should help Kaprizov make his decision about his contract extension. I mean, I think for the results on the ice, complemented with everything else that is going to be everything else that's going to be lining up for this Minnesota Wild team over the next 4 or 5 seasons, I think it's a pretty compelling pitch. And I think let's talk about another aspect to this that is something to consider. I think John Hynes has found a way to deploy Kirill in games that I think Kaprizov himself really likes. Because Hynes has said it multiple times that Kirill needs extra shifts to kind of get himself going sometimes. And Hynes does not mind throwing him in on a line when somebody's in the penalty box, or he doesn't mind giving him those extra minutes. And I think a player like Kaprizov likes that. And the results speak for themselves. He scored again tonight, his 15th goal of the season. He's still on pace for over 50. He's on pace for 120 plus points. If the Wild make it to the playoffs as a high seed contender, he's probably one of the favorites for the Hart Trophy at this point. But there's a lot of additional pieces on this Minnesota Wild team that are really appealing for him to consider in the future. There's a lot that can happen between now and the end of the season and next off season, but I feel like things are trending pretty nicely for the Wild and also for the Kaprizov extension. PB joining us tonight. Were their legs a bit tired? Seemed to struggle to clear a lot of the night. Still a good win. Yeah, it's tricky on the second night of a back-to-back. They did have a little more than 24 hours with the 1 p.m. game yesterday. But I think Nashville just tried to really suffocate things, especially up the middle. I think it just was a tight game that made opportunities few and far in between at points. Both teams were pushing the puck up the ice pretty good. It's just once they got into attack mode, there just wasn't a lot there. But definitely, I think at points there were definitely some jelly legs at points throughout the game. But Wild did what they needed to do to come away with the win. Hockey Stick Talk Nation joining us here tonight. Huge pickup today for the Wilds. I'm anxious to get Alex's thoughts on Jiricek and also Locked On Prospects. I'm anxious to get their thoughts on what he can bring to this Minnesota Wild system, because I think I'm trending towards the like, while also reserving the right to say that's a lot to give up. But I think I'm in the like column. Beauty of it is that I get to use the phrase "we'll see how it plays out" a million times, because that's what it comes down to. Britt joining us tonight. NHL standings: Wild are tied for first in points. Kaprizov moves to first in points leader. Gus is first in save percentage. Captain is back. Moose is trucking people. Great day to be a Wild fan. Yeah, Marcus Foligno playing with hate in his heart in this game tonight. He had the fight. He had a couple of big hits on Tommy Novak. Just an absolute monster out there. He had 6 hits on the night, and a few of them were of the monstrous variety. So good for Foligno for setting the tone in a very important divisional game that the Wild, it felt like they needed, because let's consider this. I know the monster in the closet is still Dallas and Winnipeg as far as beating teams in the Central. And I know you look at the record for Nashville, they're 7-18 right now, 7-12-6. They got too much talent for that record, guys. They really do. They should be way better than that. So the fact that it was a tight game, the fact that it was a close game, the fact that both teams played a back-to-back yesterday, being able to, again, gut it out, grind it out, and get that extra point, I will very much take that. Because once this Nashville team gets clicking, if they get clicking this year, they're going to be tricky. It's just that they just have so many pieces that are cold. so far this season. It's frankly kind of gross. Spurgeon in general has really returned to form. They threw the numbers out on the screen of Spurgeon over the last like post recovery, missing 5 games, I think it was, and his numbers just continue to get better and better. Had the goal and an assist, so a multi-point night for Spurge, and that's his 3rd goal of the season. He's got 10 points, which I think have all come since he came back from injury. But the work that he's doing on defense too, like he has just helped with Jonas Brodin turn that into just a monster D pairing to complement Brock Faber and Jake Middleton, who are really good themselves. And being able to, I think, get everybody where they need to be is another big part of the puzzle for Spurgeon, because Jonas Brodin's been out the last couple of games. So you've got John Merrill, you got Zach Bogosian, and you've got Declan Chisholm all in. But I think Spurgeon is doing a great job of, Michael Russo wrote about this the other day, in fact, the leadership angle of being able to make sure that everybody's where they need to be and that there aren't any missed assignments. He's doing a great job of that. So just great work by this D-core as they go. Yeah, I'll throw this out for a disclaimer. Anybody that listened to the recap show with Jack and I after the game yesterday, I don't like to pile on the officiating because I just view a game having many different key instances that can impact the outcome without the officiating having to be the main culprit. But what does Matt Boldy have to do to draw a penalty? I don't know if he could have been pulled down any harder, and it just goes uncalled, and it's getting tiresome. And it's not just the Wild, it's every team. It seems like there are things that happen on a nightly basis. I don't know what to do about it, but something needs to be done. And that's I think where I will I think that's where I'll leave it. Nashville spent all that money on Stamkos, Marchessault, and Shea this offseason, and they're 2 points clear of Chicago. Yeah, that's hideous. That's so bad. The TJ O'Connor, Kirill Kaprizov, all that needs to be said. He's making a case for one of the best Minnesota athletes of all time. Absolutely accurate. Very, very, very accurate. Ladies and gentlemen, captain of the comment section has joined the show, anxious to get his thoughts on the game as well as Jiricek. Dougie with some more on Jiricek. He's weak on his skating, particularly skating backwards. If he's willing to put in the time to work on it, he could be really good. We'll see if he has the team first. If he has that team first mentality going. Trav says huge project because he is an atrociously, horrendously bad skater. Well, Andy Ness, you've got your work cut out for you. Declan Chisholm has been good. Thank you for clarifying that. He's been great. He scored tonight. Nice shot from the top. He's been able to take 20 minutes a night, and has just continued to impress. He just looks good out there. He looks comfortable. He looks calm, and a lot of good stats for the D-core in this one tonight. Let's talk about this because we are through the month of November, and the over-under for wins for the Minnesota Wilds in November that Zach and I put together, 9.5. And the Wild went 10-4-1. So they just hit that over. And I know the Dallas and the Winnipeg games, and that Los Angeles game. You want to see wins against those benchmark teams, but the Wild are doing just about all that you could ask them to be doing. There are some clunkers in there, but for the most part, they have just taken care of business. They're just kind of putting their nose to the grindstone and racking up these wins. There's not a lot that can be other than getting the special teams ironed out. We're not going to talk about the special teams unless someone asks me a specific question, because it's I don't understand it either. I don't get how the penalty kill can just be as inept as it's been. I don't understand it. I never will. Maybe 2 out of 3 is 66%. That's not great, but I guess if they can get 2 penalty kill stops, that's progress. I don't know. It's spanned multiple coaching staffs. The players are too good. There are too many good players on this team for this penalty kill unit to be as bad as it is. I don't get it, and it annoys me. It irritates me. It frustrates me. Yeah. The other point, one more point on Jiricek. I like this. If he's coachable and can be developed, and Columbus is not known for doing that, he's worth it. We talked about Andy Ness, really, really good skating coach, but I saw a quote in the Athletic piece written from the Columbus side of things. You can have a teacher, but you have to have a willing student. So if we can avoid Kalen Addison 2.0, then we're in good shape. Yeah, as far as good chatter about, good discussion about best athlete in Minnesota, Randy Moss is going to be tough to beat. I would say he is either him or Adrian Peterson are probably the biggest competition for Kaprizov at this point. But I mean, the things that Kaprizov does, just gross. Yeah, but a few more years of this, and I think he's going to get right up to the top of that list. It's a big day for the Jared Spurgeon fan club, which Denny is also the president of, in addition to being the captain of the comment section. Spurgeon's been great. Now 3 goals in the last 2 games. He just continues to get that that defense in line. They've been playing great. Number 1 defensive team. They only gave up 1 5-on-5 goal tonight. Number 1 defense in terms of 5-on-5 goals against per 60 by a wide margin. And that's Spurgeon has a huge say in getting the credit for all that. Dan joining us tonight. Look at how many prospects Columbus has fumbled lately. Look at how many people the Wild have developed. Jiricek is in a winning environment now. Going to be unreal. I hope so. He'd be a nice add for the system. And it's up to the Wild development staff to get him to the finish line. And we'll see. Don't worry, Gary. I'm going to need to eat some crow too, because I did not think that this Wild team was going to make the postseason this year. I said they were going to be fighting for a wild card spot at best. Well, as of right now, and when is the last time we could say this? Like, even in the seasons in which the Minnesota Wild were like at their best, like 3 years ago, they were still like number 2 or number 3 for pretty much the entirety of the season, but now tied for first in the Central in the month of November. I have not seen that since taking over this show. So it's a credit to what John Hines is doing. it's a credit to what Jack Capuano has done with the defense. Like, I don't think he's getting enough credit for the new set of eyes that he's brought to this organization for that defense. He needs to get a ton of credit too. If they could just get those special teams figured out, this team would be a problem. But there's plenty of time. Plenty of time. 60, what are we at now? 16 and 8, 24 games. So that's 58 games left in the season to try to get all that ironed out, to try to pick up a couple of wins against Dallas and Winnipeg. There's a lot of time. A lot of time to get that all ironed out. Yeah, I'm with Denny here. And like I said, I'm pretty sure Denny got to the Brock Nelson's theme before anybody did. It just makes too much sense. Just makes too much sense. He fills an exact need for the Minnesota Wild. Now, the Islanders did win today. They beat the Buffalo Sabres 3-0. How did Brock Nelson do? Brock Nelson, he had 6 shots on goal. He had a block. He had 2 hits. He was 7 of 12 in the faceoff circle, played a neat and tidy 21 minutes, 23 seconds of ice time. I like that. That's solid. Bo Horvat, 19 of 26. Wow. That's a good day in the circle. Very good day in the circle. Kaprizov is light years ahead of any other offensive skill player here. Would have liked to see more offensive depth before a big trade for a D-man. I think they'll still do something to add to the mix this year to give the team that confidence of, hey, we believe in what you're doing. Let's inject a little more into it. And I think Brock Nelson I don't think he'd be an issue from a locker room standpoint either. So he's top of the list. He's top of the list for trade targets. Like, go get him before New York starts to put some wins together. 9-16 right now. Like, just go do it. Get it done. Bam. Eric, thanks for joining us here tonight. Peanut butter and jam. Captain's on a roll right now. Yeah. There you go. Denny's going over the Brock Nelson trade in full depth tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Don't miss it. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be the best show that this channel has done. And I stand behind that. So make sure you tune in tomorrow night at 8. Yeah, good call on this. Preds are better than their record shows. I think so. I think they definitely are. I'm just gonna say again, because I saw that there was some Sidney Crosby trade chatter. Sidney Crosby is going to dictate where Sidney Crosby goes. If he wants to go somewhere, he will. Pittsburgh will honor that, but even if Pittsburgh comes up with a really compelling trade offer, he can just say, nah, not interested. It's up to him at this point. Yeah, the hole for Nashville is sizable right now. What exactly is it? So Nashville is now 7-18. They've played one more game than the Minnesota Wild have. They are 16 points behind the Wild and Winnipeg. They're 2 points clear of Chicago. Oh, so gross. So gross. Dallas is likely a better team in the long run, but the Wild look to be in the top 6 in the league, which is pretty special given where they stand on the cap. Yeah, they're still rolling with 14 million less than anybody else. And they're doing this. It's pretty like I don't talk about it a ton, but it is it's pretty impressive actually that they continue to do this. And Sean with the stat, the eye popper. The Minnesota Wild are 50, 28, and 8 under John Hines. You want to talk about Dean getting to the 50-win mark in quick fashion when he took over? I would be shocked if John Hines didn't do it faster. I'd have to go look. Let's just do this. I think, yeah, Wikipedia is going to do me a solid here. I don't like using Wikipedia, but so Dean Evason had the highest points percentage for any Minnesota Wild head coach at 639. Bruce Boudreau was second at 579. Then Mike Yeo at 559. John Hines has a possible 73 points out of 63 times 2, 126. So 73 divided by 126, it's 579. So that would be tied for second in amongst all Minnesota Wild head coaches, tied for second in terms of points percentage. I don't know if I calculated that right. But I don't know when this was even updated last. But yeah, Mr. Clean's doing elite work. Nashville radio was just as mad as we were about the officiating. Yeah, it has been gross. It's been hideous. Pretty much all season. No D-man is worse than the baby giraffe of the Jets. Logan Stanley. How about the first goal tonight for Chisholm? That was a sick shot from the top. And that's what Declan Chisholm brings to the table, is being able to just let it fly and silky smooth. Very nicely done for the Minnesota Wild. Sean, I believe the over-under for season points in the sports books was around 93. The Minnesota Wild are going to crush that number. They were on pace for heading into this game today, 119. And so I'm just going to say this because it's going to happen. There'll be a lull. There'll be a lull this season. Like 119 points is like historic pace. But this is why it's important to bank all these wins so that you have the Wild, I think, are on like a 720 points pace or points percentage right now, which is absurdly good. Winnipeg's going to go on a skid. The Wild are going to go on a skid. Dallas is going to go on a skid. That's why banking all these wins right now is important. And we'll see how long they can keep it rolling. City Life, we do remember City Life that Spurgeon slander was very prevalent in the offseason, but he's shutting it up. He's buttoning it up pretty effectively. As the season unfolds. It's been a huge part of the reason that this D-core is the best in the league in 5-on-5 scoring against. That's not by accident. That's not a fluke. They're just doing a really good job of suffocating opposing chances. We did get a power play goal tonight. That was nice, but penalty kill it needs work. It needs a ton of work. So we'll see. Yeah, I completely forget just the number of insanely crazy things that Adrian Peterson did throughout his career, which includes the 2,000-yard season after his knee exploded. If you want to self-flagellate over a regular season win in the first half of the season, go for it. But let's not forget this is the same crew as last year with the same couch that hasn't won a playoff series his entire career. It's a comfortable couch, though. I'm comfortable with the couch. Like, I don't know. I think it's plenty. I think it's plenty comfortable as to where they're at. But there are 58 games left. Juice, goodbye. Goodbye. Adios, Juice. I was told there would be no math optics. 108 out of 172 possible points, 628 points percentage. Let's talk about Murat a little bit. Murat has had some really nice shifts tonight, or had some really nice shifts. Good to see. He's been a little on the yucky side lately. He has. It's been a little bit of a rough go for Huznadinov, but if you look at what he did, like he was buzzing around. He was being physical. I think for Huznadinov, he just needs to. I don't know if he's pressing because the offense hasn't gotten here yet this year. But just play. If he just continues to play his style, play his game, he'll be fine. Like just go out there and play hard, and things will happen. What are we thinking about Trenin? Trenin, Judd Zulgad had a tweet tonight that I thought was pretty on the nose. He said, this is one of the most engaged games that Yakov Trenin has played so far this season. It's against his former team. He did get called for a penalty, so not necessarily that he's playing well, but he has been engaged in the game, which is progress. I'm going to maintain what I have said pretty much all season is Yakov Trenin was Marcus Foligno injury insurance. That's what it was. He was brought in out of concern that Marcus Foligno wouldn't be able to make it through an entire season. So far, Foligno has been just fine. And games like this are a large part of the reason that you have a guy like him on the roster. But, it's a redundancy, I think, is the key phrase at this point for Trenin. And that doesn't mean that Trenin won't eventually settle in and kind of start to get on a nice little roll, but because there still are plenty of concerns about Marcus Foligno being able to get through a full season. But at this point, it's just, I don't know. Like, think of what this Wild roster would look like with another skill guy. But then again, the analytics say that Trenin and Marcus Foligno are two of the hardest players to score against in the entire NHL. So what Trenin is doing, I think, goes a little bit beyond just the standard statistics like points and such. It just would be nice to get some points to match. But analytically, they're two of the hardest forwards to score against the entire NHL this year. So he's doing things. At this point, it's just not as many as we would like to see. Yeah, you don't have to worry, folks. Juice is gone. He won't be coming back. Trennan did work hard in tonight's game. He absolutely did. I think we're just seeing a lot of the kind of behind the scenes stuff that doesn't necessarily match the point production. So we'll see. Yeah, the price was the other thing. 3.5 milli. Top 6 scorer with that money would have fit in just wonderful, but at this point, that's one of the few things that we point to as like issues on this team, because the wins just continue to rack up. If those are the things that we're like pointing to as issues, there's a lot that has gone right so far this year, including, as Britt points out, Fleury with 5 wins this year. And Marc-Andre Fleury talked about this in the game against last night against Chicago, is with him starting fewer and fewer games because Gustavsson has been so good, it takes him a little while to get going. So the Wild are going to need to come up with some way to try to shield him a little bit, especially early in games, because teams have gotten early goals against him this season. But as the games have gone on, Fleury's been great. Like, late in pretty much every start that he's had this season, he has made high-level saves to help keep the Wild on top or keep the Wild in the game. It's just that early piece, the first like 5 or 6 minutes of the game. If you can avoid giving up goals in those instances, then that's kind of where we're at. I just want to go through. Oh my God. Oh, there's some weird scores right now. I just pulled up ESPN. Utah is throttling Vegas 6-0. And the San Jose Sharks are throttling the Seattle Kraken 4-1 too. Oh, weird scores. We'll talk about Freddie Gaudreau. I saw the TJ O'Connor asking about Freddie, because Freddie, I think, has done exactly what has been required of him this season. I think he has settled into a bottom 6 role. There's no pressure on him to have to step into a higher role in the lineup, and as a result, he's able to just play his game and contribute on a nightly basis. And he has had key contributions for this team as the season has unfolded. All right, I just want to go through the stats here, because the Minnesota Wilds are currently number 1 in the league. Let me say that again. The Minnesota Wild are currently number 1 in the league in goals against average at heading into today's game. So it's going to be lower because the Wild only gave up 2 goals in a game that went to overtime. The Minnesota Wild, through 23 games, had a goals against average of 2.35. That is number 1 in the league. That's better than the Winnipeg Jets. Number 1 in the league. And the number 1 save percentage at .923 in the league. So number 1 goals against average. Number 1 in save percentage. That's a huge part of the pie as to why they have been able to continue to win these games. The defense is limiting opportunities for the opponent, and the goalies are making the saves. The offense has been opportunistic, and it's not like the offense is doing nothing. I mean, the Wild are averaging over 3 goals per game, which has them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 13th in the league as far as offense goes. And 5-on-5 scoring, they've been better than that. They're, I think, just outside the top 10. Power play percentage-wise, the Wild are 19th. They did get a power play goal today, so that number is going to go up. Penalty kills, 74.1%, which is 28th. I don't know what you do about that because that number just continues to go the wrong way. And I don't know. Now, Denny's got the Minnesota Wild number 1 in his power rankings now that the Wild have caught the Winnipeg Jets from a points percentage or from a points perspective. Remember how crazy we thought that would be, how daunting of a task that would be to try to catch the Winnipeg Jets early on in the season? Now we did it. We caught him. Freddie playing like he is absolutely worth his $2.1 million AAV. Term of the contract still very questionable, along with the trade protection. Yeah, I still am a little puzzled by that whole thing, but I will say that Gaudreau is definitely earning his keep this year. What did Freddie do today? Just from a glance. Gaudreau was... Freddie played 18 minutes. He had an assist. He had a block. He was 4 of 11 in the face-off circle, but that is a rare off night for Gaudreau in the face-off circle. I'm pretty sure he's above 50% face-offs for the season. And I don't think by just a little bit. Face-off. Yeah, 51.9% in the dot this year. And 12 points, now 13 points in 24 games. Is 1 goal and 2 points away from equaling his numbers for all of last season. So Freddie found it. Wherever his game went and hid, and I think it was because Ryan Reeves hit him. Freddie found his game, and I'm glad for that because he's an easy guy to root for, and I didn't relish having to repeatedly question where his game had gone last year. So I'm glad that I don't have to do it this year. Fleury looks like his reflexes are slow for an NHL goalie. Quick, hard shots are beating him clearly, and other teams are seeing it. He's still a gymnast and really fun to watch on the scrums. And I'm going to put this out there. Marc-Andre Fleury isn't going anywhere as long as the numbers continue to be where they are for Jesper Wallstedt. He's just not. The Iowa Wild lost again today, I think. But the numbers from a goalie perspective have been pretty bad. And until Jesper starts to really put a nice string of games together, he's gonna stay at Iowa. He gave up 13 goals in his 2 most recent starts. There was a stretch of games between October 23rd and November 15th in which he only gave up more than 3 goals one time. But now he's given up 8, and then he gave up 5 on the 24th in his most recent start. And on the season, He's 3-6-1, a 4.34 goals against average, and an 86 save percentage. So he's just got to keep working at it. When he finds it, especially if the Wild suffer an injury, when he finds it, he'll be up. But for right now, the goaltending has been like as low on the list of issues as can be. So for right now, this is what you're going to see. It has been Swiffer T Wet Jet Mop. It has been a pretty crazy season so far because the number of games that the Wild have won this year, it feels like last year they would have found ways to lose all of them. But this year they have found ways to win every single one of those games. And it's just a credit to what John Hines put in and a credit to the players for buying into what John Hines was selling. They have bought into his system, and the results speak for themselves. You win 16 of your first 24 games. That's not by accident. It's not like they're getting lucky in these games or they're finding just these improbable ways to win. They're winning by determination, and they're winning by just continuing to outwork the opponent and continuing to make the plays when they need to. That stuff is just, that's not by accident. If you call up Jiricek, who goes? Merrill, Chisholm, or Bogosian? So I think what the plan would be is, since Brodin is injured right now, I think the plan would, at least until he is acclimated to the system, I think the plan would be for Jiricek to probably be the extra defenseman, at least for a couple of games, until the Wild can see where he's at. And then after that, you get him into a game, and it would be probably John Merrill, but we got to admit, too, I know he has been a source of extreme consternation over the last year plus, 2 years plus, but that third pairing has not been an issue like it has in previous seasons. That third pairing has not been a crater. And until they are, you're just not going to see moves made until this team starts to really go on a slide. Yeah, just circling back to the Iowa Wild, there's going to have to be a move made at some point. I just don't think you can, with the number of players down there that you have expectations for, I just don't think you can continue to roll through a season like that and just be okay with it. So it won't surprise me if a coaching move is made. It's just not working. It just isn't working. And with the amount of success that the Minnesota Wild continue to have at the NHL level, it'd be nice for the AHL to have even a little bit of success down there. Like there's going to have to be a move made, just to get the messaging, I think, lined up. Yeah, it's not great. Anita, the Frost game tomorrow is at 5 p.m. Oh, good. Looks like the chat got there before I did. 5 p.m. And we will. I'll be following along, but then of course Alexis and I will talk about the game later in the week and the PWHL as well. I don't think we're going to do PWHL specific postcasts, at least right now. We'll see how they do as the season unfolds. But for right now, we'll track the results and we'll talk about the games in our weekly episode, but maybe we'll be adding that later. Stay tuned. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself on that because I'm still trying to get my daily routine. As you can see, I'm still trying to get my daily routine figured out. We're getting close. Oh, no way. Hello to John DeCosmaker joining the postcast here tonight. Monica DeCosmaker sang the anthem tonight, doing the anthem for the Frost game tomorrow too, and I'm sure doing an absolutely A+ job of it. Big round of applause to John for elite anthem work all season, just nailing it. And having Monica as a fill-in is a great when needed is a great thing to have too. So appreciate you hopping in, John. We'll have to get you on for an episode. I'll reach out on Twitter. We'll make that happen. That's tight. This is that's so much fun. You never know who's going to hop in for a postcast. And that's a great way to kind of put the bow on things here this evening. So that I think that'll wrap it up here tonight. Good ad by Ron. Frost are on Fox 9 Plus. Are also on Fox 9 Plus tomorrow. So those that are looking for the game, hopefully they get off to a good start. They raise that banner, celebrate that Walter Cup win, and go beat the tar out of Montreal. I think they play Montreal. I hope. And YouTube, as Amanda points out. So got places to look if you're looking for them. Appreciate you, John. Like I said, I'll reach out on Twitter. We'll get you on for an episode here soon. Thanks for hopping in. Appreciate it. New York. I knew it was somebody. I had a 1 in 5 chance of getting it right. 1 in 5. All right, everybody. That's going to do it. Minnesota Wild pick up another big win. We'll have 3 thoughts. I'm going to try to get back to doing those regularly. 3 thoughts recap from John Hines' presser. So we'll have that for you when the audio comes out tomorrow. And then make sure to join us for Denny's next live show. It'll be episode 20 for Denny. We'll talk about the milestones that he has achieved, milestones that I don't think any other hockey show on YouTube has ever hit as quickly. So we'll celebrate all that, and it's going to be a fun one tomorrow. So make sure to tune in so that you don't miss out. 8 p.m. tomorrow night on YouTube, and we'll have a good time with it. Minnesota Wild had a good time today. 3-2 in OT. Appreciate everybody tuning in. This has been another Locked On Wild postcast. You can find new episodes of Locked On Wild every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.